Again, a warm welcome to the program, and thank you for joining us. This week, corruption dominated the debate at the 30th Ordinary Session of the Assembly of Heads of State and Government of the African Union in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. The summit kicked off on Monday with the theme, Winning the Fight Against Corruption, a Sustainable Path to Africa's Transformation. While this summit might embarrass leaders whose governments are crippled by corruption, other countries have already started igniting the fight against the vice.
In Liberia, President George Weah, sworn in a few days ago, made fight against corruption the spearhead of his presidential campaign and one of the priorities of the political agenda. A top priority in the inaugural speech in Monrovia, corruption will have no place in my government, he said. But in the country where scourge have been present for several decades, the assertion of the new president resonates as a pious wish. I'd like to remind you that his successor, Helen Johnson-Sirleaf, had also placed corruption at the heart of her concerns. As an head of state, she stated that in her inaugural speech in 2005, corruption is the #1 public enemy. We strive to make Liberia an example of a post-war country.
De faire du Liberia un exemple de pays sorti de guerre civile.
With us now is Anderson Miamin, the Executive Director of Transparency International, Liberia chapter. He joins us now from Monrovia, Liberia's capital. Thank you very much for joining us, Anderson. Where would you place Liberia when it comes to the corruption fight, especially now that there is a new government and expectations are very high?
During the past year, in Liberia, we've had very serious issues with corruption. That is something that is across Africa and even globally. But then the extent to which they affect Africa is not the same as the effect on Europe and some other developed countries, especially Liberia, that is a post-war country. We've had a very long history of corruption, bad governance, that has undermined effectiveness and efficiency in public service over the years. Patronage, nepotism, bribery, and other forms of corruption, such as even to the extent of illicit financial flows. These issues affect Africa, affect Liberia to a large extent. And they've basically crippled our government, despite having sufficient natural resources, iron ore, diamonds, gold, and the rest. The country is not developed.
Well, we often dialogue on the same issues when it comes to corruption in Africa, impunity and independence of commissions. These are some of the things that have been recommended. But what are the major recommendations you are putting forward for George Weah's government?
We are one of the African countries or West African countries with appreciable framework, legal framework for fighting against corruption. The challenge we have had is implementation of these laws and policies. That has been our challenge, and that is one of the major things we are requiring of the current administration, that they do more to fight against corruption. We listed a number of issues, policy recommendations and points. One is the issue of asset declaration of public officials. We think that those who come to public service should be able to declare their assets. The other point is about having specialized institutions to fight against specialized courts. Our court process in Liberia is very slow. Sometimes we have too many cases, and corruption cases get swallowed up, apart from the establishment of institutions, integrated institutions, and passage of laws. We've not seen much around making these laws to work for the people. So people sometimes misapply public resources, and the presidency or the president will put her neck at the time, in the case of Manasali, she will put her neck on the chopping board for some of the officials, defending their characters and reputation. When the evidences or when the issues are so glaring that these people have misapplied resources or they've mismanaged their institutions.
And listen, the fight against corruption is on for the entire continent, as being discussed right now at the AU summit. How do these issues in Liberia come to play when speaking about Africa in general?
There are common issues, for example, bribery, police corruption, illegal dealings of public officials, or state capture. These are all issues that occur across country, especially sub-Saharan African countries. So the same recommendations we are preferring for Liberia apply to the different countries, especially countries that are naturally endowed. You always have the issue of natural resource mismanagement or mismanagement of the extractive sector. So the need for transparency is pronounced. It's something that cuts across the different sectors, that cuts across the different countries. We think the same measure, although the context may be a bit different, the legal framework and some of the approaches, but then generally, what it takes to address corruption in Liberia may just be the same thing that it would take Ghana and the other countries to address corruption. For example, prosecution. When you prosecute, it plays a major role in minimizing the extent to which other people engage into acts of corruption.
Anderson, I'm afraid this is where we have to leave it. Anderson Miamin, Executive Director, Transparency International, Liberia Chapter. Many thanks for speaking to us.